Okay, what we're doing here is we're going to change the color of this bright red rebuilt caliper. It's a 4-pot caliper. It's actually for a Subaru WRX. I'm going to put it on my FXT turbo. A little more braking power, and also it's time for a little upgrade. If you go fast, you got to be able to stop fast. This one came in powder coated red, as you can see, and that's really not the color I want. So first thing we have to do is we have to tape off all the pots on the inside. You don't want any paint on these seals. Those are your pot seals, and we don't want to limit their function. Also, over here on the bleeder, we want to cover that up. So that's what we're going to do. You can get a little lazy with this, it really doesn't matter. But I'm using some wide masking, just cheap masking tape over these, and I'll trim them with my X-Acto knife. So we'll get a little of the new color inside. Not that it's ever going to show really, because your brake pads are in here and your rotor comes up through there. Now I've already prepped these with solid. I use lacquer thinner 3 times to make sure I got any oil or grease off. And while it's a nice powder coating job that the rebuilder did on these, it's just the wrong color. We're going to do a silver metallic wet on wet technique with some heat resistant paint. Obviously this is always a lot easier when the part hasn't been used. So we take our X-Acto knife, push this down around the end, inside, and we cut. Like I said, it's never going to show, except when you change your pads. Or you get somebody else to do it for you. So you get the gist of that. We're just cutting around the inside of this, like so, into my knife. You can use a razor blade. I just happen to have this X-Acto knife laying here on my drawing table. Make it a lot easier. If you don't have an X-Acto knife, just an industrial razor blade will work. Like I said, it doesn't have to be real good. You just don't really, I don't want it flapping over the bottom. The red will be peeking out. Push this down in under the seal. Under the piston seal. Okay, expose some of the metal in the seal there, so guess what? We'll put more tape over that in a second. You want to make sure too when you're pulling this off that if you do expose, you cut too much, or the tape doesn't cut the way you thought it would, maybe it wasn't pushed down hard enough and pulled loose, put more tape over it. Take your fingernail, push that in. Okay, over here on this side, if you can see that, there's some metal showing. That's not going to be there. It's going to be showing in a second. If you ever taped off to paint a car or anything, it's the same thing. It's a lot easier to tape it off than it is to clean it up. When you're painting a car or a house or anything else, even something simple like painting the inside of your house, if you just take the time to do the prep, it's a lot easier. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Okay, I've got it taped off, and I taped it before I did a little sanding. This is some 180 grit wet dry, and we don't want to take this paint off. What I want to do is just rough it up a little bit, and I don't want to do it where I'm going to be painting because the dust will settle. It's in the air, gets everywhere else. The environment's dusty enough as it is. We don't need any extra. For most of us do-it-yourselfers, we don't have a clean room environment. Just want to improve the adhesion a little bit. I think this powder coat will make a nice undercoat. And what I've done is I've bought some heat-resistant paint, engine enamel. You can use engine enamel or caliper enamel. You know, it's all about the heat resistance. I'm not so sure that just plain enamel put on really good wouldn't stay on just as well. Anyway, hey, while you're buying, I went to the automotive supply and I bought some Duple color. So they didn't have the color I wanted. So in a minute, I'll show you what I'm going to do to make, while we're spraying, the color I want my calipers to be. I know this is the back side. You can probably see that. Again, you want to look somewhat professional. These will be taped up too as well. Might as well keep the surface, the mounting surface, mounting paper, and I'll tape those. In here, once again, yeah, no, nothing good going to be really visible in there, but let's start out as complete as we can. Especially on this lip. Yeah, you don't want red peeking out. If you're rebuilding your own calipers and you want to do this, you know, once you get these the old pots out, put the kit in, then, you know, stuff something in that hole, paint them. You can paint over these too if you want to sand it off before you put it all back together. Okay, now we got sand dust everywhere, right? So we're going to take this out. I'm going to wipe it down. And I'm not going to bring it back to this because there's sand dust on this. We'll clean all this off and then we'll go out and paint. Okay, I went out. I've cleaned all this off. There's no dust here. This has lacquer thinner on it, and it's a cotton pad. I have to have a whole package of these things. You know, if you don't have any, that's fine. Or you can use like makeup removers. Women use, I guess, and some men to remove makeup. You know, I don't know, clean rag. I don't know, these seem to work pretty good. See, I'm getting a little red paint. That's good. So, got this. Now, I have some prep solvent, too, that I'm going to spray on there before we paint. So, we'll go get that. We'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and tape off these mounting areas. As you can see, I've stuck the masking on there. Get it done now so I don't forget. I don't have to sand it later. Okay, my X-Acto must be really dull. But you know what, it's sharp enough to cut me if I'm not careful. Always seems to be the case. This side I'm just following using the side of the caliper as a template. I guess it helps use the correct side of the blade. Here we go, all teased. I don't know, kind of perfectionist on some things. Okay, close enough for government work. No offense when it works for government. Okay. Back side. Front side. Yada yada yada. Okay. See that? That and that. Now, this and this. This thing's pretty heavy. So when I get out there, or go to paint it, I'm going to clamp this to this board, and this will keep it from tilting, right? Works. But I want a little paint in here first. So we're going to spray that, and then we're going to bolt all this up. And today, it's not raining or anything outside. It's not too hot yet. So instead of spraying in my garage, where I had to cover up some things, or move things out, car, whatever, we're going to do it outside. Before we do that, my reading glasses be in trouble. Okay, here we are. We're going to prep solve. I happen to have this left over from touch-up job on the car, on the Subaru, as a matter of fact. For some reason, people Home Depot love to back into your car. I don't know if they didn't go to driving school, if they're just stupid, or what. So, needless to say, I had a little bumper repair to do. And then a little paint job, paint work. Okay. Life seems to be 80-20. Only about 20% of people seem to be thinking at any given time in their lives. Okay, enough of that. Here, prep solve. That was smell up here. I see what it smells like. Mineral spirits. That might be it. Sometimes I'll use acetone. I didn't use acetone on this because I really didn't want to burn off this, melt off this powder coated finish. But if you got acetone, hey, if it was bare metal, believe me, I'd acetone the sucker. Lacquer thinner, then acetone. Acetone works great on brake rotors too, when you're mounting them. Make sure you don't have any oil or brake fluid on the rotor surface. Acetone. When in doubt, acetone. Just be careful. It's highly, it's got a really low flash point. You can burn down your house if you're not careful. Okay, moving out to paint. This is the clear lacquer. We don't need that yet. Now all this is a wet on wet process, and the whole point of this is before one coat dries, you put on your next one. And of course you're always better off to put on 2 thin coats, or 3 thin coats, or 4 or whatever, versus 1 heavy. So here we go, and we're going to try to keep it off camera. Oh, you can see that. Good. Cardboard is just to keep the outdoor bench here halfway clean. Okay. You always shake well. Yada yada. I'm going to paint some of this inside before I put that board on. Okay. Sweeping motion. This is the silver. Light. I'm not wearing a mask. I am outside. If I wore a mask, you'd have trouble hearing me. And when jets fly over, you have trouble hearing me. Okay. The main thing here is I'm getting this part where the board's going to be covered. Okay. We said wet on wet. You wait a few seconds. We're going to make a new color. This is the blue. Now the blue isn't heat resistant, even though it's body match or engine. It is a light metallic. Has some heat resistance, but you know, figure about mixing and we'll get a little of both. Okay, just like that. And yes, you always shake. Now, some of these spray things, you want to look on the directions. They have directional. You can turn this little nozzle. They have directional flow. Okay. There's that. Because I am going to cover it with some wood while it's still wet. Like I said, I'm going to put some clear over this. Okay. Now we're going to mount our piece of wood. Yeah, that's when you mess up your paint, part of your paint job. That's why. That's Vaseline. Can you see that bird feather? Not good. Where it came from. Mount my clamp. So now I got a handle. Ta-da! See, can tilt it, whatever. Okay, this is just paint off the full color and everything. This is paint off the board here. This we don't need. Okay, we're ready for silver. Highly silver. And yeah, we'll touch this up again back here, of course. And watch out for runs. So be careful not to get too close. Hey, if you want silver calipers, you got to make. Just buy their silver engine paint. Now silver, right? Oh, missed a few spots. Okay, we'll let it dry for a second. long as it's sprayed within 10 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait a few more minutes. I'll be right back. Okay, I only waited about a minute because I do want to get this on there while it's still wet so the colors can mix. So, here we go. Step on the fly. Whoa, watch where you shoot. Watch where you point that thing. I like to wear gloves on this stuff. It's a lot easier in case I have to do something really quick. I can just pull the gloves off and you don't get blue paint or whatever color you're spraying all over the place. Okay, light coats, light coats, light coats. Okay, looks pretty good. Got the right amount of blue. Now when I put the lacquer on, I did the other caliper, some of the blue kind of goes away, which is kind of cool effect. We have some clear, heat resistant. The stuff's got ceramic in it, so hopefully it'll hold up pretty good inside the car. We'll be back. We're back, and of course the air conditioner's running now. Isn't that great? Hope you can hear me. Clear lacquer. I've only waited about 20 minutes. It says up to an hour. I don't know, it's pretty warm today. I want to make sure I get this on there and it sticks. Carefully, we're going to lift this up, spray underneath. Around. Make sure your clamp's tight. At this point, you'd know it. Noisy airplanes with canard wings. Great. Okay. What's interesting, I'm not sure if it's on the screen, is how when I sprayed this on initially, the clear lacquer brings out the silver metallic underneath. When I did the first one, I panicked a little bit. Oh my God! And I thought, well, that looks pretty kind. It looks pretty cool. But actually, as it dries back, it turns blue again. Pretty much. So, we've got a clear lacquer on. You can see this kind of like that. It doesn't take long. And as this dries back, it will kind of turn blue again. I'm going to leave it out here. Sun's out again. I'm going to cover it with that box. Make sure that's all of it. Always use gentle stroking motion. Oh, one other thing I meant to say earlier. Back on the back is this has a bung in it, or it's got a plug in it. This is where your brake line goes. If you're doing your brakes and you're putting in new calipers, or you're upgrading like I am to a better caliper, and you're going to replace your brake lines, you need to stick something in that hole. If you've already had to use on your car, then there's going to have to be brake fluid in there, so you've got to plug it to something. A tapered cork or something, or an old brake line screwed in there, cleaned off good so you don't have brake fluid dripping all over your paint, because it'll eat right through the paint. And that's it for now. We just let it dry, and then we're going to let these dry for the paint cures out in 7 days, it says. So So I'm not in any hurry to put these on the car. I actually have a pair of dual pots coming for the rear, and I'll probably do these first. They're a direct bolt up before the rear's through here, but we won't bolt these up for a week. We're going to let them cure. And that's the end of that. Okay, I've moved both of these calipers, as you can see, into the garage. I let them set out and they dried a little bit. The one in the back was the one I did earlier. Anyway, a little tip that you might want to remember is fluorescent lights attract dust, like that one. So what you do is as your paint's drying, you have this thing turned on. You do not turn it off. Same for the fluorescent lights, pardon my pan, as we pan up here, these fluorescent lights at the top of the garage, same deal. Do not turn them off until your paint is thoroughly dry. Otherwise, all that dust that is sucked into those fluorescent lights falls. And when it falls in your wet paint. Anyway, there they are. They're drying. The one in the back is already dry to the touch. And you can see it's a nice metallic blue. And the one in the front is getting darker as it cures. Paint dries. And a lot of those little areas that had silver showing have gone away. This was all silver in here, and now it's almost all gone away as it dries, which is kind of an interesting effect. Anyway, that's that. What I will do next is I'm going to unbolt these as they're a little bit drier to the touch, because I don't want this wood becoming part of the wet paint that was underneath in the back. And I'm probably going to hang them by wire from these shelves, which is really good for hanging things. And there we go. Refinishing calipers. Thank you.